All right, I am on Nino's Corner.tv. Joining me is Ted Nugent, legendary rock and roll, the myth, the legend. I love Cat Scratch Fever. I love Stranglehold, man. All your music is awesome. And you really, Ted, I love your outlook on life. I love the fact that you suffer from the same things I do, which is toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Uh,
In a big way, man. I am literally the crowbar of testosterone.
yeah, absolutely, man. I always say to people, man, I go, Ted, people like yourself, or like, I used to listen in the boxing gym to ACDC, Cat Scratch Fever, Stranglehold, and I used to use it as psychological warfare. And I'll tell you how I used to do that. I used to have sparring partners that would fly in from Detroit, LA, really all over the country, all over the planet, really, that would come in to work with me in my training camps, and they would come in and put in their music, which would be, they try to take over the gym and put in the hip hop and all this stuff, and immediately I'd go up to their stereo, unplug it, put in my music, and guess what it was? It was Ted Nugent. It was ACDC, and I'm telling you what, it would throw off their rhythm and make them look around like they're far away from home now. So,
Nino, you got to admit, man, if somebody puts on hip hop or rap, with all due respect, and I struggle to find any respect because I can't stand that music, but you have to admit, when somebody comes in to kick ass and they put on that crap, and then you put on Stranglehold, you're cheating because you have the Warrior soundtrack, the
yeah.
middle finger on fire, the defiant, we the people, man in the arena, in the swirling dust of battle.
Oh.
That's my music. God bless you, man.
Yo, dude, and let me tell you, man, it would throw them off. They knew, they knew they were in for it, man. So I gotta say,
I don't mean to interrupt, but check this out. Every
Go for
day
it.
I run my dogs, I train my dogs, I go to the firing range and aim small, miss small practice. But for you, Nino, I have goosebumps.
Oh man. Oh, this is awesome, man. This is awesome. And
I love that stuff.
Ted, I tell everybody, if I could do it all over again, I would have picked up a guitar or a set of golf clubs, man. Leave the boxing gloves alone. And I would have, man, you had my dream job, man.
Well, Nino, I got to tell you, you have a great and very powerful, believable. That's the most important attribute of a human being, especially in these horrible times of Marxism and corruption and criminal abuse of power by the government, the media, academia, and Hollywood. Is a heartbreaking time. But as a professional fighter, God knows I love the ballet of athleticism. I watch Muhammad Ali. There's a musicality. There's a spiritual cadence to what you guys do. But my name is Ted Nugent. I'm 72.7 years clean and sober. I've never abused my body because my mom and dad disciplined me to respect and revere the precious gift of life from God. Please, what you just said, you should elaborate on every one of your communication opportunities. Oh, God bless the athletes. And again, I watch you guys, and it really is a samurai Zen spirit ballet. But I try to avoid headaches. You guys jump in the arena and you actually seek headaches and head injuries and the CTE catastrophe. It's the gladiator days are over. You talked about a guitar and a golf club. Well, the same applies to my welding buddies, my mechanic buddies. They are such mad scientists, focused samurai carpenters and electricians that I would like to think that as a society where we're being attacked spiritually by evil forces, and I cannot overemphasize that. You know that. My dogs know that. You're my dog. But we need to wean Americans off the self-imposed spiritual and physical suicide of substance abuse, drinking and driving, insane, irresponsible, deadly diets, and with all due respect to all my athletic buddies out there, why would we celebrate two men, and I know the answer to this, but we have to get past it, two men going into a cage and beating the living hell out of each other, and the guy that doesn't get CTE, the guy that doesn't become brain dead and crippled or dead, the guy that doesn't succumb to this self-imposed viciousness. And again, Nugent's a pussy. No.
I'm listening.
Man in the arena
as well.
Don't you think we need to wean ourselves off of intentional abuse? The gladiator, it's over. They used to be forced to do that to each other. Now we're doing it on purpose.
It's called issues, Ted.
And I got to say, Nino,
a lot of people have issues.
There's a lot of manly, and being manly is what God created us to be the head of a household, to be the provider, to be the protector, to be the nurturer, to be the cuddler, to be the emotional samurai, guiding our children into being uninhibited in their expressionism, both in a gentle, compassionate, empathetic way, but also being ready to attack the beast at the door. That's when you use that warrior athleticism. When your family or you or an innocent is assaulted, then you beat the living hell out of the attacker, because now that prowess, that samurai prowess, should be identified as the good against the evil. And again, not just in a street fight, which is legitimate when you're stopping a carjacker, you're stopping a rapist. That's all legitimate. But how about you tough guys? Don't beat each other. Save it for really stopping evil, neutralizing an assault or a rape or a carjacking or a burglary or a child abuse or a child kidnapping. I hope people on this is your
speak
podcast, but I think we have to reevaluate our priorities. And I would never want to punch somebody as a sport. I'd rather just punch somebody. In fact, I won't punch him. I'll probably shoot him. I'll probably shoot him 3 or 4 times right in the middle if they're bringing evil unto an innocent life, whether it's mine, my wife Shemaine, my children, my neighbors, my band. The real manliness is to be cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock, to be prepared as tough as you can be. And I'm an old man. I'm not as strong as I used to be. But Nino, I've done federal raids with the U.S. Marshals going after rapists and murder. I've been a sheriff deputy for almost 40 years now.
Wow.
So I have to have a manliness. And are there women in the law enforcement and military community that have powerful samurai warrior spirit and capabilities? Well, yeah, way better than me. But to denounce or find fault with manliness is the manifestation of a cultural deprivation that we see exploding around us, where people are protesting and burning down family businesses. You're using the family businesses to get to your protest, you dirt bags.
Yeah, agreed.
So God bless you for having me on. I didn't mean to monopolize this.
No.
But I do interviews every day, and I think there's a lot of misinterpretation out there, and you're the perfect guy. You're a warrior, not just a tough man physically, but you're a tough man spiritually.
Thank you.
And the two must come together. And that is Martin Luther King. That's Mother Teresa. That's Gandhi. That's Donald Trump. That's my buddies in law enforcement and military that are willing to run into that fire and sacrifice their lives to save an innocent. That's how toughness should be used. Not to beat each other up so a bunch of people can get drunk and celebrate somebody getting hurt.
Well, look, hindsight's 2020. I look back on it now and I'm like, what was I thinking? What possessed me to get in the ring 40 times? And
well, because society said That's the indicator of a man. And yes, it can be, but again, reevaluate the application. Do you really want to get a trophy for just hurting someone who didn't do anything? And again, I know people watching us right now, Nugent missing the whole point. No, I'm not. Anybody that doesn't get what I'm saying is missing the whole point. And you've come out and admitted it.
I understand
that honesty is manliness.
Ted, I understand it completely. And I got to say, I'm a year and coming on 8 months sober. Okay.
Hallelujah. I'm 72.7.
So I'm going to ask you, being a rock and roll superstar, how did you didn't drink at all? You were sober the whole time as a rock star?
No drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco, and no stupid food. Well, not no stupid food, because when I was graduating from the anti-education system in 1967, by the way, look at this. Here's my priorities. Look at that.
Oh, there he is. What's
That's
up, buddy?
Happy Jackson, the Catahoula. But anyhow, I was raised, Nino, as a bow hunter. Now, let's really give the overview of what a bow hunter is. He's got to be super tuned into his surroundings. You talk about situational awareness. When you're in the ring, you got to literally anticipate the attack. You have to be so samurai. I keep using the word. Yes. Well, as a bow hunter, it's so impossible. It's almost impossible to get close to a deer with a sharp stick. God created them to avoid us with all this mystical sixth and seventh and eighth senses of escape. They're mystical. But when you apply yourself and you stumble in that arena, but you get back up and brush yourself off, and you learn to take a conscientious step and be the brother of the deer, be the wind in the spirit life of God's creation. And believe me when I tell you this, bow hunters that eat venison have to do this, or you'll end up buying chicken, because if you're stumbling or if you're comfortably numb, you can't get close to a deer.
Yeah.
And you can't really appreciate your natural reasoning, predatorship, resource steward, conservation, reverence for the wise use of renewable resources. That's what venison is. While you're balancing the herds and the flocks, and you come away educated to your responsible role in nature. So when people offered me drugs and alcohol, which was everywhere, Nino,
yes. I couldn't buy no. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that you were sober. I did not know that.
I'm a defiant son of a bitch. If you propose something to me that my brain says is stupid, I'm going to just tell you, no way, dirtbag. By the way, the people who offered me drugs and alcohol, Nino, there was spittle in the corner of their mouths. They had words coming out of their nose. They couldn't form a sentence. They forgot this incredible, soulful Motown arrangement to the songs. And I'm going, wait a minute, you want me to partake in a process and an indulgence that reduces your level of awareness, causes you to stumble, drool, throw up, and die? I told Jimi Hendrix he was going to die, Nino. I told John Belushi he was going to die. I told Keith Moon he was going to die. I told Bon Scott he was going to die. I mean, come on, guys. Are you kidding me? You're stumbling and bumping in, and you don't even finish the damn song on stage. You're so wrecked. Wow. So luckily, as a bow hunter, I so valued what my dad taught me about stealth and responsible behavior, not just literally, but figuratively. A conscientious step in life will be rewarded with a close encounter with a deer or picking up on the jam session with B.B. King or Chuck Berry. Wow. But if you're drunk or stoned, your radar goes down. Can you imagine getting in the ring and being the best that you can be? If you're drunk or stoned, you're done.
No,
you're going to get your ass kicked.
And Ted, I got to tell you, when I was boxing, I used to, like I said, you said, what makes a man get in there and fight another man? For me, it was issues. I had a lot of issues. I was bullied when I was younger. I had to learn how to defend myself. And I think it just, I felt like such a coward when I was a kid that it turned into something, it morphed into me having to prove myself throughout my whole life that I could fight. And that's what boxing, all boxing really was for me, was me proving to myself that I wasn't that kid that got beat up at school anymore.
And what a profound statement. Thank you for you're admitting
Yeah.
your weakness.
Yes. Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
That's manly.
Yeah, I agree
That's
with
more
you.
manly than beating some guy up for no reason.
No, that's the underlying issue right there with me. And that's what plagued me my entire life. And now that I'm out of boxing and looking back on it, I'm like, I look back and I think, God, all the risks I took and the extremes that I juggled. I juggled alcoholism and I juggled, fighting. I was just a head case. But I will say this, though. You're right. When I stopped drinking, when I gave up that life and I went sober, I cannot believe how clear I see the world. My spidey senses took off. My intuition went through the roof. It's an amazing life.
Yes.
I see my friends now that are still doing it, and they look sick. They're in their 40s. Something happens between 35 and 45. If you keep drinking, which I was on my way to do that, you deteriorate. You start looking sick and frail.
Nino, God gave us immeasurable. You and I have no idea. Well, maybe we have some ideas because when you're clean and sober, your intellect, your radar increases, your level of awareness, your omniscience. We'll never be omniscient, but we aspire to omniscience and omnipotence. That's what we dream of. And when you're clean and sober, you're finding these resources that God gave us that all of a sudden make you appreciate a sunrise better. It gives you better sex.
Depression. It gets rid of depression.
Better. Yes.
I have depression. I don't have it anymore.
It clears your gift of intellect and exploratory intellectual adventure. And that's what life is. You're born at point A. I've had some New York Times bestsellers, and I'm just a guitar player. I never went to college. I was too busy learning stuff. The point is, I said this over 50 years ago when I was doing interviews, and I was coming out against my friends who were drunk and stoned and dying. And I'm going, why? And I said, God Almighty, I just thought of this during an interview back in the 60s. I said, you're born at point A. We're all dying at point B. Do you want that adventure reduced, or do you want that adventure expanded as a thank you to God for the gift? Why would you put bad food in vulgar quantities and poison and chemicals into your sacred temple? How about when I would do interviews in the 60s and 70s, I'd use the term sacred temple. They didn't know what I was talking about. I was trained and disciplined. I'm going to talk about that, real important. By my dad and my mom, and the world I lived in as Detroit was the arsenal of democracy, pride of productivity, the work ethic the whole world knew was the greatest work ethic in the world. But that discipline made me be more conscientious about how I live. Plus, my dad would have kicked my ass. God bless that. So I want to salute you and all the warriors, even though they haven't prioritized like you have, and it will come when they get clean and sober, their sense of reason and logic will come clearer into focus. And when it comes clearer into focus, you ask yourself, what did I do with today's gift of life? But you guys were so disciplined to be the fighter, and that's a great discipline. The whole samurai warrior training that is so ubiquitous in the world as being the best that you can be, a higher level of awareness, identifying when the samurai sword comes down and you can counter it, which is exactly what you guys did. So a big salute to your discipline. Your discipline, like the greatest musicians in the world's discipline, the work ethic you put into it should be saluted. But never is there an excuse. I know I'm pissing people off, which I'm really good at. When can your brain tell you it's a good idea to beat the living hell out of someone for a belt?
Yeah.
My sons are monster athletes, and I said, don't play football. I mean, come on, smashing the head. I mean, I know that.
Well, yeah, you have to suffer from CTE the rest of your life. That's a risk you're taking. And let me tell you, I notice. My memory is shot, man. I have a terrible memory. There's certain things that I suffer from that I know that I'm not the same guy I was. There's certain things that I suffer from. I walk into a room every day and wonder why I'm in that room.
But that's so educational to people. Thank you for being brave enough to admit that.
Yeah.
My 18-year-old grandson, Jack, he's an absolute warrior. I mean, he's 6'6". He's a basketball monster. He's the state champion golfer in Michigan.
Wow.
So he has to discipline equal to any of your athleticism or any of the fighters and boxers and wrestlers and cage fighters. But he's taking it out on a ball and focusing the path of his ball/life to the cup. And nobody's getting hurt. Hello? So that's that's the goal.
Sorry, my dogs are barking. Ted, I just want to let's switch gears real quick. I want to get your outlook on what's happening with the country right now, man. I mean, how does it feel to watch your beloved country basically get flushed down the toilet and being actively taken over by communists right now? I mean, that's what we're seeing. What's your view on that? What's your outlook on all this that's unfolding before our very eyes? It's like we're in a plane and it's in a nosedive.
I will not give you an outlook or an opinion or my view.
Okay.
I will share with you the inescapable, irrefutable evidence that everything you're saying is true. And I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but again, I care. I participate in this sacred experiment in self-government, been doing since the 60s, which is why the media and the left hate me. Because when I bring truth, logic, and common sense and a tsunami of evidence to support my statements, the Piers Morgans of the world are helpless. The CNN dirtbags are helpless to respond. They typically have to go, well, let me play devil's advocate. Well, if you're going to counter the truth, logic, and common sense that I just shared with you, you would have to take the side of Satan. So It's very important that you identify you're admitting to counter Ted Nugent, to be a devil's advocate.
Right.
So here it is. Here's the evidence. Number one, good, caring, conscientious Americans and people around the world. Go to my Facebook. I get people coming from every corner of the globe that express what you're articulating. And that universal cry and hue around the world is, Ted, how did Americans let this happen? How did Americans let Nazi procedures, Joseph Goebbels' propaganda ministry, denial of the Nuremberg trials conclusion that no man, no government can force medicine or experimental medicine on civilians, on citizens? How are you letting it happen? So the first point I'm going to make is that everyone is heartbroken, everyone is shattered, but here's the most important lesson that you know better than anybody. If you're going to get in that ring and fight like an absolute warrior, you need good food, you need good sleep, you need to compartmentalize. Because if all you're doing is strategizing how to counterpunch the culture war monsters, you'll have an aneurysm. It's so ugly right now.
Yeah.
So do what Uncle Ted does. Fight like the man in the arena against the evils of the Democrats, the media, big tech, the Marxists, the fact that the Chinese government, financed by Nancy Pelosi, Dr. Punk-ass Fauci, Barack Obama, they took our tax dollars and helped the communist Chinese genocidal monsters create a weaponized virus to unleash on mankind. Now that statement will get me banned from all social media.
Yeah, right.
Evidence is irrefutable.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it at that right there, because I want to put this on YouTube and this.
Okay.
Yeah, I call it fluff tube. They'll just, man,
Isn't that a shame that you have to even think censorship?
Isn't it sad? Isn't this sad that I can't
In
even
America, we got to be careful what we say in spite of the First Amendment. This is it in a nutshell. So let me rephrase that.
Okay.
But how heartbreaking is that?
Yeah.
I have saluted so many flag draped coffins that charged into sacrificing their lives for their constitutional oath to witness our government and so many power abusing entities violate that oath to the Constitution, that I remember the tears on the tarmac in Fallujah and Kandahar with the great Toby Keith, where we had to salute a procession of flag draped coffins. It inspires me to fight with all that God gave me to expose the power abusers and the criminals in positions of power. And here, because we have to censor ourselves, which is so against my spirit, but in order to get the word out, we have to be clever how we express ourselves. David, hunternation.org. Spread the word. It's not a partisan organization. It's a 501c3. Hunternation.org. It's not even about hunting. It's about God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, law and order. If you believe in the foundational values that bring the greatest quality of life in the history of the world, United States of America, if you believe in that, I beg everybody, go to hunternation.org and learn how to communicate with your mayor, your senator, your congressman, and your governor on a regular basis, as often as you can, and just tell them that defunding the police guarantees the slaughter of innocents. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Senator, Mr. Congressman, Mr. Governor's office, and take their names, because the mayor, the senator, the congressman, and the governor won't answer the phone. Take the name of the person who took the call. Tell them your family name and give them 2 points. I demand my First Amendment rights, and I demand my Second Amendment rights. And Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, I'm calling back next week. I want a specific response from my mayor, senator, congressman, governor. Hunternation.org. We made the difference in 2016, and even though the fraud of 2020 is rampant, we made the difference in 2020. So we're going to fix honest, legal voting in America. There is no America without borders or without legal voting.
Right.
And hunternation.org, I'm telling you, we are an army for God, family, country, law, and order. And if you're not involved, the enemy of God, the people who hate God, family, country, and law and order, those people will win if those of us that believe are not engaged.
100%.
It's that simple.
100%. And I think right now in America, what we're witnessing right now is a hostile takeover by these people, by these
glaring.
I mean, it's in our face. It's a hostile takeover. They don't. You hear what's happening with the prisoners of war for January 6th. They're not even being allowed any representation. The lawyers are being kicked out. The congressmen aren't allowed to visit. This is bad. I mean, this is where we're at as a country. We're in a nosedive.
It's historically communist China, Cuba, Venezuela, Nazi Germany. These are gulags. They're being charged with trespassing, which is basically a jaywalking ticket, but they've been in solitary confinement, Nino, for 7 months. And I'm telling you, I am so close just abandoning my life, going to D.C., and I know my spirit tells me to perform a hunger strike, to sit there like Gandhi and the heroes in the past, Martin Luther King Jr., and go on a hunger strike till they let out the political prisoners in America. It ravages my heart. Now I have to do a decision, make a decision. Would that be more effective, or would my constantly raising hell in the media? I don't know if you watch my Tucker.
I think raising hell with you. I think with you, your knack is going to be raising hell. That's what I think. Ted, we got to make our voices heard.
If people would go to foxnation.com and witness my truth, logic, common sense crowbar Tucker Carlson interview. Nino, it will make you feel good, and it gives guiding instructions and proven methodologies to change the criminality in our government, media, big tech, academia, and Hollywood. Those are the enemies of America. And it's so glaring. And I made a plea. I hope you can even use this. On my Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire, I get to millions of people around the world. I said, Mark Zuckerberg, I love you. You're an entrepreneur. You created a mom and pop business that became bigger than Walmart, bigger than Amazon. But Mark, you go bow hunting for goats and pigs in Hawaii, so you must understand the spirit of respectful use of God's renewable resources. Please, Mr. Zuckerberg, and all of your so-called fact checkers and the people in your business that are denying Americans their First Amendment rights, Mark, please take a deep breath, say a prayer, and reconsider what you are doing to the only and the greatest quality of life and freedom in the history of the world. Are you an asset for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, or are you a detriment? Mr. Zuckerberg, don't cancel me. Don't censor me. I'm pleading with you with my heart and soul. Take a look at your vapor trail. Is it good for mankind, or is it horrible for mankind? That's all I'm asking.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ted, I just want to switch gears on one thing here, because this is a spotlight edition. This is something new I'm doing. So I want to ask you about, and I have to ask you because, I mean, about rock and roll and where you see it now. I mean, I'm going to read a quote to you that that Freddie Mercury said, and I think you know which one it's going to be. We are in the gold. This was back then, obviously, when he was still alive. So we are in the golden age of music. There will be a time when technology becomes so advanced that we'll rely on it to make music rather than raw talent, and music will lose its soul. Are we there now? Has music lost its soul? I mean, because he was speaking about the future. We're here now, and I got to tell you, the only music that I listen to is classic rock. I listen to the '90s alternative somewhat, but honestly, I can't stand today's music, and I don't know if it's just because I'm an old guy now or what it is, but I just feel like what he said, music has lost its soul, and you're one of the artists that I look up to. The music, Stranglehold, Cat Scratch Fever. Has music lost its soul?
Well, a big hallelujah that Freddie Mercury's gift of talent and soulfulness, musical creativity and adventure that so enriched everyone's lives. Queen music and Freddie Mercury's musical vision and spirit, it enriched the world. It's the soundtrack. These magical pieces by the band Queen, just gifted virtuosos. And again, their work ethic to achieve that level of success and uninhibited musical outrage takes an unbelievable man in the arena work ethic. So a salute to the Queen band and Freddie Mercury. But how prophetic, because those words have iron, and we are horrifically living in that time now where technology has literally deterred people from practicing the guitar so that they could play like Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen and Billy Gibbons and Tommy Shaw, my damn Yankees musical genius buddies, and all the incredible musicians in my life. I've been surrounded, Nino, by the best of the best forever, including 2021, which I'll talk about in a minute. But no, music has not lost its soul. The biggest, most powerfully impacting music today is Van Halen, Montrose, ZZ Top, Foreigner, Queen, the Stones, the Beatles, the Who, the Kinks, Led Zeppelin, the damn Yankees, the Ted Nugent music, the Blackfoot, the Brownsville Station, the AC/DC. I mean, all that music is so unleashed in its ferocity and soulfulness and uninhibitedness. And there isn't another. Foo Fighters create some great stuff, And this Greta Van Fleet from Michigan creates some great stuff. That's it. Now, make a note. I wish I could remember. Big and Rich makes some great stuff. Some of it is really hokey country, and I love the guys. They're gifted beyond belief. Toby Keith makes some great stuff. Blake Shelton makes some great stuff, but it doesn't have the fire. In fact, Blake Shelton mentioned that he was introduced to music. The first song he ever sang was Cat Scratch Fever, and he loved the soul and the middle finger on fire and the grind and the groove and the sensuality. And then he plays, with all due respect to the guys, it's like cartoon music. Yeah. I can't stand it.
Right.
And they're really, I mean, Carrie Underwood, she's like Aretha Franklin. And she makes some great songs. That song, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. I don't even know her name, but they have the spirit, they have the soul. But a lot of it is so hokey.
Yeah.
And there's no killer guitar solos, no crescendos. Nobody has veins popping on their forehead like James Brown taught us, and Steven Tyler and Aerosmith, and all these greatest bands that ever lived. And I performed and jammed with all of them. But let me make a note. Those of us from that powerful, defiant Little Richard School of Music are alive and well. I just recorded, Nino, strap your ass in. I just recorded the most powerful, fun record of my life called Ted Nugent, Detroit Muscle. It's got a song called Come and Take It. You get with Linda and you can play the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds of the song Come and Take It, which, by the way, you can actually get an autographed Come and Take It hat at tednugent.com.
Love it.
And people love this hat. And you can also get a Come and Take It flag, which is the spirit of America.
Oh, that is awesome.
This is I'm going to get an address from you, and I'm sending you this stuff. My point is I'm surrounded. I have Jason.
I'll put that as a backdrop. You get me that something like that, I'll put it as a backdrop.
I'm doing it, brother. But
okay.
Jason Hartless on drums, Greg Smith on bass, Michael Lutz from Brownsville Station, who wrote Smoking in the Boys Room, Tim and Andy Padalin. We got in my barn, and it was a musical orgy. In fact, I'm going to plug this back in. If you want to know if music has lost its soul, Uncle Ted to the rescue. I'll plug this back in. But listen, you love Stranglehold. How do you not love Stranglehold?
Yes.
This is the theme line to Detroit Muscle.
All right, let's hear it.
Listen to this grind. Girls are going to go crazy.
Man, God, that's awesome. I am privileged to have you on and do that, man. Look, all I ask is please, I'm going to put it up right here. I'm going to Come and Take It. Just sign it.
And my dogs love my music, man. It makes them want to trick a squirrel.
So can I get an autograph Come and Take It banner? I'll put it right there.
It's on its way. Consider it on its way, brother.
Cool. Man, you're awesome. Ted, I won't take any more of your time. You're amazing, man. I just want to say I appreciate you. You break the mold, man. Everybody, you suffer from toxic masculinity, as so do I.
Yeah. And celebrate it every day. But the most important point, a lot of people will see me do interviews like this and they go, Nugent's lost it.
Yeah.
Think of that. I'm 72.7 years old, clean and sober for 72.7 years. I discovered, before I knew the word samurai, I discovered the mystical flight of the air, which is the origins of Zen, that higher consciousness of samurai. That's what my dad disciplined me at. I am on fire. If the 25-year-old Ted Nugent showed up, I would kick his ass because I eat good, I sleep good, no drugs, no alcohol, no poison, no stupid food. I run a trap line. I let nature heal me every day. I train the samurai aim small, miss small tactics. Nino, I train with Delta Force and the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers and the Green Berets. I train with the supreme humanity that have dedicated themselves based on their oath to the Constitution to be prepared to crush evil to save the innocents, good over evil. So if the goofy guitar player who wrote Wango Tango, and I meant it, if I can be this healthy and alive, you do an interview with any 72-year-old you want.
No, they're decrepit. They don't have the life, the vibe.
It's quality of life based on using your head. I don't let Mr. Hand grab Mr. Poison and put it in Mr. Mouth. I'm in charge of my hands. My brain says, don't grab garbage and eat it. And you know what? I want to ask you this too, Ted, because you've met Trump before, correct? A few times, probably. Who's that now?
Donald Trump. You've met him before.
Oh, absolutely. He's a samurai.
But he's also alcohol. He's also sober. He's been sober his whole life, right?
Yes. That's why he can speak and he's not afraid.
Jeez. I wish I would have learned at a younger age.
You know, you're doing great. You're doing God's work. You look great. You sound great. You think great. You're on point. This is a culture war. You're a warrior in the culture war, and those of us that benefit from your sacrifices, your dedication, and your courage to speak out when the censorship monsters are crushing freedom of speech every day, you're doing God's work. Don't ever forget that, and we salute you. I bask in the quality of life that guys like you provide for speaking out. Not what you believe, what you know is true. It's not, these aren't your views. Yeah, the Constitution isn't a view. The Ten Commandments aren't a hunch. The Golden Rule isn't a presumption. So thank you. And thank you for having me on and sharing this campfire. But I'm going to have you on the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire on YouTube and Facebook. I can't believe they haven't completely chopped me off.
They got me out of there. I'm off. I'm not on Facebook anymore. They got rid of me.
See? It's unbelievable. I can't. Well, anyhow, so everybody go to foxnation.com and witness the core beliefs expressed unapologetically and unafraid on a Tucker Carlson interview. And I do, Nino, I do this every day. And so far, so good. I celebrate that thousands and thousands of people, and go to my Facebook and read, I know you can't get on, but whatever, go to mine or whatever. People have become clean and sober because I keep pounding it. People have compartmentalized. They fight. They call their elected employees, but then they focus on quality time with family. I've caused thousands of people to become archers because when you come to full draw, there's no Nancy Pelosi. When you come to full draw, there's no Hillary Clinton. When you come to full draw, there's no Dr. Fauci punk.
Right.
I'm telling you, you need to cleanse the soul, and archery is it. Believe me when I tell you that.
You would fall in love. Pick that up now. Seriously, I need something to stabilize and center me.
Where are you at, Nino? Where do you live?
I'm in El Paso, right on the border.
Well, hell, I'm just up here by Waco, man. We got to run. I'm heading back to Michigan soon. I book hunts all over our swamps and forests in Michigan, and I do that September, October, November. But when I get back around Thanksgiving, you're going to come to Spirit Wild Ranch with Shemaine and I, and I'm going to personally train you on archery.
Oh, wow.
And remember, you're a strong guy, but when you shoot your bow, it has to be graceful. You can't, not weightlifting. It's stealth and grace. And when you come to full draw and you bring that arrow back, your whole world is the path of the arrow. Your whole world is coalesced and becomes a tractor beam, and all the stress, Nino, it vanishes. Just a few arrows a day. I shoot about 20 arrows a day, and I aim small, miss small. And even though I'm shooting at targets, I shoot at 3D targets, 3D animal targets. So I learn to focus on the vitals for a quick, humane kill. That's what makes me dangerous, because my soul is cleansed and my batteries are charged and my spirit is on fire because I give a damn. So here, hunternation.org. Be sure that everybody is a member of the National Rifle Association, Gun Owners of America, your state firearms association, and hammer your mayor, senator, congressman, governor. If you're not hammering them, they'll walk all over you. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
It's hunternation.com to contact your mayor, your representatives. And then foxnation.com, the Tucker Carlson interview with you and Tucker Carlson, and come and take it.
Yep. And it's hunternation.org, because it's
hunternation.org, sorry.
We don't endorse anybody, but we fight for God, family, country, law, and order.
Ted, thank you so much for joining me, man. This was an amazing interview. I am honored to have such a rock and roll legend on my show. So this is my first of the series, a Spotlight edition. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nino. Stay on course. Shemaine and I pray for you. We pray for America. Prayer is powerful. But if you're not participating in the sacred experiment in self-government, you're not neutral, you're a liability. Because the evil forces love apathetic people who won't engage. They'd love to come through your border where you don't protect it. You know, Nino, nobody enters the Nugent ranch. Nobody's invading my ranch, because we have a rule here. If you're uninvited, we'll probably shoot you.
Yeah, and you have every damn right to do that.
I'd like our government to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted, so much.
Godspeed. God bless America,
God bless you.
You live it up. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
You got it, man. I'll contact Linda.
Yeah, and I'll send that flag, and we're going to get together, and we're going to shoot some arrows, buddy.
You got it. I'm down. Thanks, Ted.
Live it up.